Chapter 7. Bloodstains. The cold air caught at my throat as I stepped out the steaming warmth of the laundry building. My feet hit a patch of ice on the gravel surface of the walkway, and I nearly lost my balance. I hurried into the girls' bathroom and was surprised to see it was empty. When I stepped into the wash house to clean my hands, I startled Julie, who was alone there, frantically scrubbing. She had sprinkled some of the bleaching powder onto the blood stains on her cuff, and now all that was left was a wet pink patch. I noticed for the first time how swollen and chapped her hands were. How many times since she got here had she needed to wash away blood? She saw me staring at her hands, and I guess she must have realized that I saw the pink stain too. She rinsed off the bleaching powder and held her hands behind her back. I wanted to ask about the blood on her cuff, but sensed that it wasn't the time. "Where is everyone?" I asked instead. "The train is not back yet," she said. "By the time everyone gets picked up and dropped off, it will be another half hour or so." What a long day it was for those people who were working away from the camp. It was grueling for me, and I had one of the best places to work. I washed my hands in the cold water, using just a tiny bit of bleaching powder. I needed to stay clean because I didn't want to get those bugs back again. The powder stung the tips of my fingers, especially where I had poked myself with the needle. Julie stood there expectantly, as if she were waiting for something or someone. "How did you make out with the sewing?" she asked. "I think I did fine," I told her. Ingy seemed pleased. Julie's shoulders relaxed. "I'm relieved to hear that." I stepped to the door of the wash house and stuck my head out. No one else was waiting to get in. We were alone. I came back in and regarded Julie. "Please," I said, "have you seen the children they took to the hospital this morning?" Her eyes filled with tears, and she sat down on the edge of the giant metal wash trough. "I did see them," she said, "but you must put them out of your mind." I could feel the frustration building inside me. Why wouldn't she tell me what they were up to? Surely she realized that not knowing was worse than the most horrible reality. "Please, Julie," I said, "I must know." She breathed in a deep, shuddering breath and stared at the cement floor. "Not all of the children suffer the same fate," she said, "so I'm not sure what happened to them all." "But what have you seen?" She touched the pink stain on her cuff. "Blood," she said. "They remove it." My mind went blank. Then I managed. I don't understand what you mean." "They put a needle in the child's arm and drain out blood into bottles. A lot of blood." I tried to imagine a needle going into Alessia's arm. She would be so frightened. And what about Larissa? Had the nurses at that other place taken her blood as well? The thought of it made me ill. What would they do that for? "They send it to the Nazi soldiers who are fighting on the front. If the soldiers are injured, they lose blood. They get an infusion of children's blood to make up for what they've lost." The room swirled. Did the Nazis see us as nothing more than spare parts for their war machine? My knees buckled and I crashed to the floor. In an instant, Julie was down on the floor beside me. She cradled my head in her lap. I could feel a hot tear splash onto my forehead. "It's terrible," she said. "I know it is, but I do everything I can to make them comfortable. Mostly they die in their sleep, and in war, that is not such a bad death." The thought of little Alessia being bled to death was horrifying. She had been so hopeful that her choice had been right. I thought of the other young girls, Daria and Katya, and of Tatiana, who had chosen to pretend she was younger. I thought of our introductions in Barrack 7. I was just getting to know them, and now they were gone. I also felt guilty. If I had stepped forward and been truthful about my age, maybe the officer would have told Tatiana to step back. Did I have blood on my hands too? I held my fingertips close to my face and looked at the red pinpricks. I deserved these hurts. I was a horrible person. I curled into a ball on the floor and wept. I wept for the children who had died, and I wept for all of us still living. I thought about my dear Larissa and prayed that this was not her fate. I wept for my parents and all of the other parents who had been killed by the Soviets or the Nazis. The despair enveloped me, and I choked through my tears. Julie's hands felt warm on my back. I'm glad that you lied about your age, she whispered. Otherwise, it could have been your blood on my clothes. The words were like a slap in the face. I stopped crying. Julie helped me sit up. What do you do with the children? She shuddered, but managed to look me in the eye. I clean up after the doctor has taken the blood. She let out a huge gasping sob and collapsed into my arms. When the doctors and nurses go on their break, I try my best to comfort the children. I sing to them and give them water. I wish I could do more. The two of us clung to each other and wept.